Greetings. Warm Advent blessings to all of you, my dear sisters and brothers, and my dear friends. In our week 2, Wednesday, Advent, I'm going to talk about Jesus condemns the cities. Matthew 11, verses 16 to 24. This is your Pastor Yeti. What picture shall I give you for this generation? Asked Jesus. It's like a bunch of children sitting into the town square and singing songs to each other. This is how it goes. You didn't dance when we played the flute. You didn't cry when we sang the dirge. What do I mean? When John appeared, he didn't have any normal food or drink. And people said, "What's got into him then? Some demon?" Then along comes the Son of Man, eating and drinking normally, and people say, "Oh, look at him, guzzling and boozing and hanging around with tax collectors and other riffraff." But you know, wisdom is as wisdom does, and wisdom will be vindicated. Then he began to berate the towns where he'd done most of his powerful deeds, because they hadn't repented. "A curse on you, Chorazin," he said. "A curse on you, Bethsaida. If Tyre and Sidon had seen the kind of powerful things you saw, they would have repented long ago with hair shirts and ashes." But I can tell you this: on the day of judgment, Tyre and Sidon will have a better time of it than you will. And what about you, Capernaum? You think you're going to be exalted to heaven, do you? No. You'll be sent down to Hades. If the powerful works that happened in you had happened in Sodom, it would still be standing today. But I can tell you this: on the day of judgment, the land of Sodom will have a better time of it than you will. A bright red sports car swept by me in the street with a roar of exhaust and swish of tires. As it slowed momentarily to take the corner, I caught a glimpse of a young man driving it. Dark glasses, long hair, the hint of a beard. Rock music was playing at full blast on the car's stereo. The sticker in the back window of the car said, "I'm the one your mother warned you about." He was clearly proud of the fact. Most societies have warned children about certain types of people, and the ancient Israelites were no exception. In the book called Deuteronomy, which sets out the commands and warnings given by Moses to the children of Israel immediately before they crossed the river to take possession of the promised land, there are clear warnings about certain types of persons and what they may do. Beware of false prophets, said Moses. They will try to lead you astray from following Yahweh, and you must resist them. Beware of a rebellious son, he said, one who refuses to obey his parents. He will bring evil upon Israel, and his parents must bring him to the elders of the town and have them put them to death. This harsh commandment, Deuteronomy 21, the verses 18 to 21, instructs the parents of such a son to accuse him in a particular way. This son of ours, they must say, is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then the people must stone him to death. But where have we heard these sorts of things before? In this passage on the lips of Jesus himself. This seems in what people are saying about him. He is a guzzler, a boozer, a glutton, and a drunkard. He likes his parties and his food and drink. He must be a rebellious son, leading Israel astray. Maybe he's a false prophet as well. This charge surfaces again later in the book. Jesus was up against it and clearly found it frustrating. John the Baptist had led a life of self-denial, like the holy ascets in the many traditions. Ordinary people had found that hard to take. They had even suspected that a demon might have got into him. Now, here was Jesus himself celebrating the kingdom of heaven with all and sundry throwing parties which spoke of God's lavish, generous love and forgiveness. And people accused him of being a rebel, a son who wouldn't behave, a false prophet. The answer, of course, then, as now, is that people don't like the challenge, either of someone who points them to a different sort of life entirely, or of someone who shows that God's love is breaking into the world in a new way, like a fresh breeze flowing through a garden and shaking old blossoms off the tree. And they certainly didn't like it when this meant Jesus challenging them to turn away from the direction they'd been going and take the opposite path instead. Some of Jesus' sternest warnings are reserved, as in verse 20 and 24. For those who refuses this call, why? What was going on? Was he just angry and calling down a curse on them? No. These warnings are among the most sober and serious words he ever said. He had lived in Capernaum, after all. He knew the people. They were his friends, his neighbors. The baker where he bought his bread. The people he met in the synagogue. And he knew Chorazin and Bethsaida, just as short walk along the lakeside. And he knew now, despite all the remarkable things he'd done there, that they were bent and going their own way, following their own vision of God's kingdom. And he knew where that would lead. The vision of the kingdom was all about revolution, swords, spears, surprise attacks, some hurt, some killing, winning in the end. Violence to defeat violence, a holy war against the unholy warriors. Love your neighbor, hate your enemy. If he slaps you on the cheek or makes you walk a mile with him, stab him with his own dagger. That's the sort of kingdom vision they had. And Jesus could see, with the clarity both of the prophet, of a sheer common sense, where it would lead. Better be in Sodom and Gomorrah, with fire and brimstone raining from heaven, than fighting God's battles with the devil's weapons. He was offered a last chance to embrace a different kingdom vision. He'd outlined it in his great sermon and the teaching he was given in town and villages all over Galilee. He was living it out on the streets and in houses filled with laughter and friendship. He was showing how powerful it was with his healings, and they didn't want it and were ready to use any excuse. He's got a demon. He's a guzzler and boozer. He's the one they warned us about to avoid the issues. Here is some for reflection. What are the excuses people use today to avoid the issue of the kingdom? How can you help them to see that they need to repent and change directions? My beautiful people, Jesus was offering a last chance to embrace a different kingdom vision. And that's for you. That's for the world. May your life be embraced with God's embracing of forgiveness and a new life. Advent blessings. This is your Pastor Yeti.